Hi, this is Natalie Steffen. Today I wanted to go over the symptoms of when your child has an adverse effect to a vaccine injury based off of autism. So this is going to be an experience based off of what my child started to develop after he was given the MMR shot, the flu shot, and the varicella shot. So every child is a little bit different, but we basically, as psychologists go through it, they basically have certain aspects that they look to put them onto the spectrum. But I want to tell you the things that actually my son did, and hopefully this will trigger something if a mom's seeing this within their child, that they would be able to address this with their doctor and get a recommendation to go get them checked through a psychiatrist. So what happened was when my son got the shots, it was a slow regression over a 3-month period of him changing. The first thing I noticed, like I said in my last video, was complete screaming, constantly throwing himself on the ground. Everything was miserable. He behaved as if he was in really, really bad pain. It was nonstop from morning to night. My son screamed all day long. Taking him out to public was not an option. He would have a meltdown at any time, any moment over anything, and I had no clue what would set him off. So that was the first thing. When I took him back to the pediatrician, I told her exactly, this is what's going on. My son is having bad tantrums, explained the whole entire thing to her. Her thing was, how does your son talk? Is he starting to say things in sentences now? And because he was close to 2. And I said he had, everything was fine. He had a 10 to 15 word vocabulary, but now he don't talk anymore. All he does is scream all the time. And when he screams, it's a high-pitched scream. It's a painful scream. It's not a scream that people mistake as your child's misbehaving. It's a scream for help and a scream for frustration because they no longer have the words to be able to express to you what they're actually going through. So after hearing that and telling her that 2 people had pointed out that maybe my son has autism, they noticed some signs in him. She thought that was ridiculous because she has seen him since birth. He had his hepatitis shot. He had all his shots all the way up. And to her, that wasn't anything that she was concerned with. She suggested that if I wanted to go get his speech checked out, she would go ahead and do a recommendation over to Vanderbilt Hospital. So we went ahead and went there. We had 4 appointments at Vanderbilt. I requested to have his hearing checked because he no longer could hear you or responded to any sound or responded to his name. So I thought maybe somehow he lost his hearing. So his hearing was absolutely perfect when he went in to get checked on that. Then he had 3 visits and evaluations with a psychologist, and he was diagnosed autism, being autistic. So the things that I started to notice was the loss of eye contact. He no longer knew anybody. When they entered the room, my son did not have any response to anybody. His 2 sisters, older sisters, at the time, they were 8 and 4, and now he has a baby sister. But those were his buddies. Those were his 2 little buddies that he hung out with, and they all taught him things and helped him advance really quick because he had siblings. Well, he no longer knew who his siblings were. They would come in the room and he would be looking out off into space with like a hazed look over his eyes, and nothing at all would interest him unless he focused on one thing and had to have that one thing. And the crazy thing, it would be things that he would see on the ground, like a piece of paper, and he wanted to eat it. or he would go see a cord and he'd want to chew up the cord, or he'd go see a light socket and look at the light socket. It was just crazy things like that. But when it came to a human being coming in contact with him, he did not see them. He saw through them. So it was we became objects. We did not become people. I no longer was mommy, and my husband was no longer daddy. So that was a huge thing. He started walking on his tippy toes. He started flapping and stimming. He no longer ate with a spoon or fork. He would go with both fists all at one time, shoving food all over his face and into his mouth. And that's how he ate back then. We're working on that still. We're trying to get him to take his time and not make such a mess. But all these things happened. And during the process of all of this, I was researching. So, of course, I was a mom, just like the majority of moms are. We go to the doctors. We have a specific pediatrician for all of our children. They all get vaccinated. They all get vaccinated on schedule. You do not think twice about it because it's somebody in, a white jacket that went to college for a long time, and you trust what they say. So when they say hey, it's time for your child to get their shots, you automatically go down there, and you're not realizing some of these shots are cocktailed. You're not realizing that how many doses are actually in the syringes. So we're just basically going on faith and trusting. So by the time I put everything together and started researching and started going through documentation after documentation and reading the stuff on CDC, reading personal stories, reading both sides of the picture. It wasn't just one side, because my views slowly changed the more I dug into it. So I went from a pro-vax to I'm going to eliminate some vaccines to, oh my God, now I know the truth about every single vaccine. I know exactly what the ingredients are in these vaccines, and no way, my kid will not be getting that. That's absolutely crazy. And if somebody can read that and assume that those are safe ingredients, then I can't tell you what I would say about them. But obviously, I don't think they have common sense, because just research for yourself. I don't have to go through that. I am going to do a video that actually tells you what the ingredients are, because there are some things that are so incredibly disgusting that the religious exempt form should be filled out for every single Christian. Really, honestly. And it doesn't even, you don't even have to be Christian, because a person with common sense would look at those ingredients and decline it in a heartbeat. So anyway, so once I put all of that together, I stopped vaccinating him. By the time I counted all his shots, my son had gotten 32 shots. He is severe autistic now. He went from a completely normal, beautiful, healthy boy to a beautiful, cute, autistic boy. But autistic life is not an easy life. It's a hard life. So I'm going to just to sum that up so that we don't have people thinking, I would much rather have my child get these shots. First, read the ingredients. First, do your research. But to say the things that have been said to me is, I would rather have my child get autism than to risk them from getting a disease. Your child is not going to get a disease. If you live in a third world country and you're eating contaminated food and drinking sewage water and living in unsanitary conditions, yeah, that's a possibility. Most likely you will get sick. But we're living here, and if you're clean and you're eating clean foods, get all those toxics out of your foods. Stop putting the toxics in your bloodstream through vaccinations. Stop with the GMOs. I mean, look exactly what you're eating. If you are healthy and you keep your body healthy and you go the opposite way, reverse way of what the world is telling you, and do an all natural way, you will not get sick and get one of those diseases. I am not 1 ounce in fear that my child will ever get a disease. I'm not. If my child gets a disease, guess what? Your child's going to get a disease too. Even though your child has been vaccinated against that disease, your child has a compromised immune system. Every single shot that goes in there is breaking the immune system down, the natural immunity system that God gave you. So that's a whole different other subject that I can go into when I go ahead and talk about the ingredients. I'll go through exemption forms because there is no law that forces you to get your child vaccinated. That is something that's it's manipulated in a way of how they say it that makes it sound like it's mandatory. But if you know your rights, it's not mandatory. So believe me, you can go through and get some exemption forms. But I just wanted to tell you, if you see those symptoms, you definitely bring it up to your pediatrician and get the heck out of your pediatrician. Go find a natural doctor. We don't have a pediatrician. We dropped her. As soon as I figured it out and she was wanting me to vaccinate more and the shots coming up were the MMR shot again, along with a couple of other ones, she no longer is my doctor or any of my children's doctor. We go to a chiropractor, a maximized living chiropractor who specializes in healing the body naturally. And we are on a special diet. We don't do the toxins anymore. And we are reversing everything in my son's system. So your child can be healed, and it's your responsibility as a parent to actually make those changes within your son, make those, or daughter. Sorry, I have a son, but to make those changes as far as what he's eating, stop putting those toxins in his body, stop slowly killing our children, and to research. As a good mom, you think you're a good mom when you take them to a pediatrician and you get them vaccinated. Well, I learned that's a big lie. And I learned that most of us, when you start researching, are way smarter than your pediatricians. So I recommend that you research and you start doing the complete opposite of what the world wants you to do. Because what the world wants you to do is to continue to feed into their profit, continue to keep your child sick. And the more visits, every time they vaccinate your child, it's money in their pocket. What do you think they care about more? They care about your little kid? Or, people can put on a really good show, but I'll tell you right now, as soon as your child is vaccine injured, the door is shut on you. Unless you're going to vaccinate, they don't care what your child's health is anymore, honestly. So please do research. And if you have any topics that you would like me to talk about, go ahead and send me a comment, or send me, a lot of you are on Facebook with me, send me a Facebook message and let me know. And I'm going to continue to speak out. I'm a mom. I love people. I love children. My obligation is to, since I found out the truth and I do have a vaccine injured child, my responsibility is to continue to talk and to warn parents and let them know what the real truth is. And I will continue to do that, because not one more child deserves to be injured because we're uneducated parents. So I just wanted to put out another video and give you some information. And I so appreciate all of you. I've had so much really, really healthy support. And thank you so much for the people that stand behind me. I just want to say thank you. And I will talk to you soon. And always have a very blessed day. God bless you. Bye-bye.